We are talking about referrals. So this is not necessarily building a referral-based business, but how to handle referrals when you've got a client that says something like, oh, I'm moving to so-and-so, or needing to sell my house here in order to buy a house in Florida, Louisiana, or, right? So when you have those types of situations that come up, there are different types of referrals that will come up in your real estate career. But this is a huge benefit that you have as a licensee that you can take advantage of in our industry. So let's get right into it. So I get one of these at least every day from some agent within Best Choice. And this is common. I get this all the time. Hi, Shannon. I'm trying to confirm who signs this for me. I'm giving a referral to an agent down in Texas. This is my first out-of-state referral. This paperwork was provided by the agent that was down there in Texas. She says, I need someone to sign. Can you help me? So there's a lot of question about what do I do? How do I handle it? So we're going to talk about this today and how you can approach this, how you can place referrals, and how we can kind of retain that income as well as a source of business for you guys this year. So some of the different types of referrals you'll come across. If you have a client that, say, you work down Tacoma and you're like, you know what, my client wants to move out to Spokane. That's a long drive. That's 4 hours away. I may not want to necessarily make that drive. Let me place them with an agent over there. If it's something within Best Choice, so if it's a Best Choice agent to a Best Choice agent, and we've got agents across all of Washington State, Idaho and Oregon. So just kind of keep that in mind if you want to keep it in the family. But those are kind of the first type of referrals that we'll talk about tonight. And then we also have probably the most common, I would say, is out of brokerage, out of state referrals that will come in. So, you know, like the one I just mentioned, I've got a client that's going down to Texas and they're going to be buying a home down there. Those types of scenarios that will come up. One that a lot of agents think that they can do, at least within Washington, it could be the same in other states. I can speak to at least what it is here in Washington. Finder's fees are not allowed. So if you are in your marketing pieces wanting to do some sort of incentive to people within your sphere of influence, saying, if you refer me a friend or family, I'll give you X amount of money. You got to be very, very careful because we cannot pay commission to unlicensed individuals. So those types of finder fee scenarios, they're not referrals. We can't do those here in Washington State. If you have questions about how things should be worded or how you want to handle those types of scenarios, let us know. Give us a call and we can kind of talk through what you're wanting to do for marketing there. Some of the benefits of working in, so in that second scenario, that out-of-state referral, I've got a client of mine moving to Texas. You know, why is it worthwhile for me here in Washington to secure an agent down in Houston? And why is that worthwhile for me to do? And part of it is these three reasons here. So we can secure a good relationship for that client from start to finish. So if you are working with that client to sell their home here in Washington, and we can control that experience as much as we can, right? We're involved in it. We're helping them. We're communicating with them. We're doing all the things that we do here at Best Choice. But we also want them to have a good experience when they go buy in Houston. I mean, it's kind of like one of those worst things in the world when you've done everything you can do and you send them you pass the baton to the next agent and then they fumble. And that client is now frustrated, upset. They're dealing with moving plans. Moving is hard and stressful, and we want to have a good experience from start to finish. There's also an element of, appreciation too. If you take on kind of the weight of vetting an agent for them in the city that they're landing in, it's a huge weight off, it's a huge weight off their mind of, you know what, I'm trusting Candace to go ahead and get me, 2 great agents down in Houston that she would trust. I've narrowed it down. I don't have to go through thousands of other agents that are licensed in that area too. So it can be a huge value add for you. One of the other things too is it's building rapport, and this is something that people forget about, but you're able to build rapport with some of those agents in other cities across the nation, where if you build that trust with them, you can have a very healthy referral exchange with them in the future. So we've got a really good friend of ours who lives down in Tennessee, and we've helped her family, she's helped our family. So it's kind of like our friends and family keep, whenever I have someone down in that area of Tennessee, I send them to her, and same thing for her when she sends them up here. So it can have a really good relationship with some of those referral agents, can be a good source of business for you. Maybe not today, but maybe in a couple years from now, when you have other clients that are moving to that area as well. One of the other kind of the big benefits, obviously, of taking the time to place and vet an agent in another city that you're not licensed to work in, is certainly the monetary reason for it too. We have some agents that, I had one at the end of the year who told me, when we were doing all the taxes and all the end of year things, that said, I made almost $50,000 in referrals that I sent out of state. And I didn't have to show a home. I didn't have to meet them at those houses or take the phone calls once they were pending, all of those different things. I just had to vet that agent and trust that they would take it to the finish line. And I mean, that's, when you look at kind of your sources of business, that's huge. I mean, what money are we leaving on the table for you and your business that we could pick up in the next 6 months by just making sure we've kind of done the prep on it and vetting some of those agents in other cities? So one of the biggest questions I get is, who do I know? Candace, I'm sure, gets this all the time too. Rochelle, I know, does for a fact get these too. I've got a client moving to, I don't know, wherever. How do I find an agent that's licensed in those areas? We can look, we have the benefit within our own MLS of looking up agents in our own territory, but how does it work in other states? How can I find people that are licensed and reputable in some of those areas? So one of the first places you can go, you should certainly go, this is kind of our pet project we've been doing within Best Choice over the last year or so, I'd say, is in our member section of our resource site at bestchoicerealtyhomes.com. We do have a referral connections page where we list all of the agents that we have received or sent successful referral agreements to on that site. So it's got name, phone number, website, so that you can copy and paste that and send it to your client, or just pick up the phone and call them, whatever it is that you're needing that for. One of the other kind of ways so that's certainly one way you can get a hold of an agent in some of those areas. I do say it's pet project. So there are some states over the last couple of years we have not received referral income from. So if you end up placing someone in those areas, please let me know. And that way we can add them, so we can have more business with those agents that have done a good job for us in the future. You can certainly call or text us. Our Facebook group is incredibly active and very helpful. So even the chat one that's within Facebook, but that's a great resource as well to kind of see who has had good relationships with other agents in other cities. One of the other kind of things I've done in the past too, where I had a friend of mine move to Indiana, and I'm like, I don't know anyone in Indiana. So one of the things that I've done in the past is I've gone to realtor.com and I look at who has listings in those areas, because they're certainly going to be working if they're having listings. And I'll go down the list and I'll start making phone calls. And I'll show you here in a couple minutes of questions that I will ask them, so to make sure that it's going to be a good fit for my client when they move over there. So that's yep.
I recently used, and I've used it now on quite a few occasions. The only thing that I use it for is homes.com has a tab for agents, and it has agent directory. It tells you, I mean, literally you can put in the city and it'll pull up the top agents in that city. It tells you, in the last 5 years, how many transactions they've done. I've helped other agents in our office find agents for Puerto Rico and other places outside of the US even. So just so you guys know, homes.com is another great, really easy resource And like I said, again, that's the only thing I use it for right now. But
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible too, because homes.com is owned by CoStar. That's big company. They're pulling the data. They know the production
yeah,
history of our agents
so
and
yeah, it shows the
those things.
production history, it shows
Yeah,
everything. So yeah, it's another good resource.
very cool. Okay, so some of the questions you can ask them. So once you've gotten their information, what do I say? I've got a client of mine who's moving to Indiana, and what do I say to this agent over in that area? I found him on homes.com, like Candace is suggesting I could do. What do I do? Call them, certainly. You'd be surprised. One of the number one reason the agents do not that lose out on business is they don't pick up the phone, right? So call them. And if you don't get a hold of them, call the next one that's in that area too. But these are some questions that you can ask. What's interesting about this sheet here is these are questions that we have as supplements on our website that we could use, and that we always train our agents on being well versed on how to answer these questions when they're working with a client. These are things that will come up that clients will ask when they're vetting you. So why don't we go ahead and use these same questions to vet an agent in another city? So one of the first questions is, how, do you work as a full-time agent? How long have you been licensed? What can you tell me about the Indianapolis market? Is it fast moving, or is it enough supply where they have some time to potentially wiggle on price or in terms of closing dates, things like that? What does the process look like in Indianapolis for buying a home? Their contingencies are going to be different. So kind of get a head start on that too. How do you market properties when you're selling homes? Can I see some samples? Do you have a system to follow up with agents once they've referred a client over there? And do you have any references that I could call? Any of these could work, but this at least gets you to the point where you can start that conversation with that agent and then place that referral. Do you have any questions, Candace, that you've asked agents when you've kind of placed them?
Just like I recently referred a client, and was it Plymouth, California? And my biggest question was, how many listings have you had in that specific area? And how did that go? And, well versed. And the nice thing is homes.com, I was able to double check and make sure that he was telling the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. So just ask questions, and if you end up getting a match, right? It's kind of it's like dating an agent, right? We're trying to find a match for the client.
Yeah. Yeah.
Personality wise, how they communicate, how, those types of things. We want to make sure we have a good match so we can have a good, solid experience for that client when they move or when they're moving from some of those cities. The other question I get, and this kind of goes to the initial one, is what do I do after I've had that conversation with the agent? So, once you've had that phone call, one of the worst things I've seen some people do is they'll just give the information of the client that they're sending to them in that other state, and then they don't have any sort of agreement that gets signed. So, what's there's certainly the honor system in our industry, but at the same time, we want to protect the time and effort you took in order to vet that agent and place that client. So, there's two paths. If you're in Washington, licensed in Washington, you'll be using a Form 11. It's not going to be unheard of. If they're quicker on the draw and they send you that referral contract, they'll probably send you some sort of realtor form, which is perfectly fine for them to fill out and send and have that signed as well. But for us in Northwest MLS territory specifically, or in Washington at least, we use the Form 11 to convey referrals. And it's going to be a little bit easier for you to access and fill in that respect. So this is what it looks like. This is kind of what it depends on where they're coming from and which state or MLS, but this is kind of what the Realtor, the National Association of Realtors referral contract will look like, is something kind of like this. And it's usually a couple pages. The Form 11 is right here on the left. And on the top, you'll indicate the day's date, the percentage or the flat fee that you're wanting to charge or to send. And then filling it in 1, 2, and 3. The referring firm, I get questions and I get people that mix this up all the time. The referring firm is the person who's sending the referral. So if I'm sending someone down to Texas, I'm the referring person. The destination is who's receiving. I'm the person, like, am I the person who's receiving the referral, or is it the person down in Texas? That's where you would indicate the destination. Where is it landing? Is it here in Washington or is it down in Florida? The prospect information goes in 3, and put in as much information as you know. It's going to be helpful for that agent down in that area. You know, as I'm sure all of you busy agents do, we get a lot of phone calls, we move quickly, but having, you know, a reminder of who this person is going to be helpful. So this is kind of a sample. Susie is selling a home in Tacoma and wants to purchase in Gilbert. She's pre-approved with this lending company with 650. I mean, the more you know, the better it's going to be for that relationship. Referral agreements need to be signed by the designated broker. So some agents think that they can sign the Form 11 on their own. It says on here, designated broker branch manager. So if we're sending something within, you know, even outside of Best Choice within Washington, you know, we're sending something to Keller Williams, or sending something to EXP, or, you know, what have you. Rochelle, our designated broker, will need to sign these agreements. So make it easy for her. If you set it up for signature, you can email it to her. You can send it to support and we can set it up for you for signature. But she is technically the person that will need to sign these referral agreements when they come through. Okay. And then for internal, so if you're sending a client from a Best Choice agent to another Best Choice agent, we've made it even easier. You can fill out a form online from your phone, and that's it. There's not like there's anything that needs to be signed or set up for signature. If it's internal within Best Choice, we just want to make sure everybody's on the same page, and accounting knows how things are going to be handled when it closes. So if it's internal, just fill out the form. If not, send us an email. I have some people that just send me an email. That's fine, as long as everybody's on the same page and it's understood what that referral percentage or split is. We'll make sure we can handle that on the accounting side. How much do I charge? I get this question a lot. I've seen some people charge a flat fee. I've seen some people charge 10%, 20%, 40%, all sorts of things. So it's up to you and the agent that you are working with. And it comes down really kind of, what I tell people, I go, I've seen anything typically from 25 to 35%, just depends on what it is. I see flat fee quite a bit with vacant land, especially, but by and far, it's up to you guys and how involved you are in that process. For me personally, I spend a lot of time and vetting and asking questions and getting them pre-approved, that maybe it will warrant a little bit more than what other agents typically would charge for those types of referrals. So speak to the value and speak to what you're wanting to do there, but it is up to you and the other agent what you guys want to charge. And then how do you pay that person? So we just had this actually in our office last week, where we had an agent that closed a transaction, and we didn't know that there was a referral that needed to get paid. So as a brokerage, you know, we do the best we can, but sometimes we are not aware of the referrals that you guys are doing, or we don't get copies of the ones, especially if they're coming to us from other states. So one of the best ways that you can assure that that person gets paid quickly, we want to make sure we have a good relationship with that agent in the other state, is to put that on the instructions for escrow, so they can get their escrow payment the same time that we do here at Best Choice. So I have a sample here of the Form 40 for those of us that are licensed in Washington. You can put it on the Form 40. I've got it here on the sample on the bottom, which, you know, this is just a sample that you can see. But we've indicated, you know, 9,000 to Best Choice Realty, 3,000 to ABC Realty. So if I'm sending a referral, or I received a referral from ABC Realty, this is how I would disperse that out. So that way they get their commission as soon as the transaction closes as well. For agents that are licensed in Idaho and Oregon with Best Choice, send our office a copy of the referral agreement once the transaction's pending, and we'll make sure those instructions get updated to escrow. And that way they can get paid quickly too.
Yeah.
Some of the other kind of creative ideas I've seen for some agents. I've seen all sorts of different things, and this stuff excites me. This is kind of like why we have our little pet project we have on our resource site, to have all those different agents in all those different cities and states, is because this is an agent that I recently reached out to me as well, but this is a sample of what she sends out. And I like this. This is something that if I had a client in that area of Boise, she just so happens to be in Boise, I'll give credit where credit's due. And she has this whole package put together, this landing page set up for referrals from other agents to her in Boise. And she does a good job about prospecting. Every month, she sends some sort of mailer or email out to us agents over here, asking us if we have any referrals that are going to Boise. And so, of course, I'm thinking of her, I'm when I have someone who says they're going to that area of the world, I'm going to start thinking of her. It's no different than if I were a client that was being prospected to. So I'm an Idaho native who moved to California and then moved back to my hometown in Boise. Best advice always comes with experience. I'd be happy to share my Boise relocation knowledge with your clients. I've helped families from all over the country find their Idaho home. If you're looking for the best agent to send your clients to, I'm your girl. I offer an agent referral fee to co-agents sending clients my way, and work closely with you when careful coordination is needed. Send me an email here. She's got a relocation guide. She's got a referral link. I mean, this is a good example of someone who's doing a good job of prospecting to get referrals from other states. For someone like her, if I had to guess, a lot of her clients come from out of state.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she knows her clientele. Her clientele are relocators. They're coming to that area of the world from other states. So of course she's going to think, okay, how can I capitalize and grow that so that I can double that type of business? And the way that you do it is by prospecting. So we learn from others, and this is a good example of someone who's done it in another state. So we can kind of get an idea, and maybe if you guys wanted to implement something, this is a good idea. So if you have clients that are coming to you from a specific city or state or an agent, let's double down on it. Why not double that business and see what we can do with that this coming year?
I've actually had agents that we've done mutual referrals to that actually now have added me to their newsletters monthly,
Yeah.
which to me was a brilliant idea. Why have I not followed suit? I don't know, but it's a great idea because even though I don't open those items, when something comes from her every month, I'm thinking of her. So I know that, where she is, and if somebody is thought of in that specific area, she's my next go-to on relocation and referrals. So
Yeah, perfect. I've got a couple, so I think that's everything that I think I wanted to share with you guys tonight, but I know we had a couple questions that came through in the chat, so I'm going to go through those real fast. So looks like Aria
yes,
had a
we
client.
did. We had Aria who asked, she referred a client agent in California, met with them in person when she was down there, but they didn't want to sign a referral form and wanted to use an honor system. She wanted to know if that's common. I think Rochelle did chime in and say honor system between MLS is not, in a post-NAR settlement world is not good. Their broker should sign off and Rochelle should sign off. So
Yep.
Form 11,
Yep.
honor system, yeah, no, make sure you get
It's,
get get your money, get paid,
yeah.
for the
Trust, it's
effort
like the
you've
trust but verify, right? It's like we want to trust people, but at the same time, we want to protect our best interests too. So if it's not in writing, they're not honor bound to do anything. So so yes, get those referral agreements signed. Rochelle will be quick if you set them up for her for signature. And then you can go from there at that point.
And that's a good idea for the agents. Just go ahead and add Rochelle in your transaction desk. That way you can just send it directly to her when you get it. And I can tell you she signs off on it. She just did one for me last week.
Yep. And if there's something that comes over from another company and you're like, ooh, that's not right. If for some reason there's a red flag on it and you're like, I do not want Rochelle calling her, call Rochelle immediately. And that way she'll hit the pause. She is quick on signing them. So make sure you kind of watch those if they're coming from other brokerages and they don't look quite right. Joy, you had a question. Looks like go ahead and unmute your line. You're welcome to.
Awesome, thank you. So totally new at this real estate thing. So how do you know what market to kind of go out and prospect to? Like, for example, I had a work event at Coronado Island, which is breathtaking, and the agents there, like, their listings are insane. So I thought, like, oh, that would be a great way to reach out, just because it's a pretty location. I had a cool time there, but really, like, when you're starting out, like, how do you even know, I mean, what other, because there's 50 states, right, in the country. So how would I know, like, would I start in California? Because I just generally think Californians are moving up here. So what's your kind of advice for a new agent just starting out like that?
Yeah, so I think, Candace, go ahead and chime in if you want to here, but I think in some areas there's going to be some knowledge, and some of it comes over time, Joy. So it's like the more business you do, you'll start to see some trends on how and where the clients are coming from. I know, for us for a while, up here in the Seattle marketplace, we were getting a lot coming from LA. There's a lot of movement in the tech industries. And so there were some agents that were doing really good marketing to attract that type of market down there. And there weren't a lot of them, I can tell you that were taking advantage of that. So I think notice the trends, pay attention to it. The more you're out, the more you'll see. I don't know, because you're over in Spokane. I don't know if Spokane has like a data set for those types of things. But I think probably speaking with also your lenders and seeing where some of those clients are coming from and trending in that way would be helpful, and kind of something to keep an eye on too. Would you agree, Candace? Is there anything I
No,
missed?
I totally agree. Look at the
Yeah.
market trends. I also would say, looking at within your sphere of influence and having conversations with people, seeing where are people migrating from, where are they coming from, and using that as a place to go.
Yeah.
And I think Google's a great source too, to be honest with you. Google's a
Yeah.
great source. Where are most people that are moving into Idaho? Where are they coming from? That sort of thing. Or to not Idaho, Spokane.
Yeah.
And then as far as putting yourself out there, I think the other big thing is become the local area expert, and kind of different fun things, things to do, places to tour in the area is great. The other source that I see a ton of activity is the Facebook groups. There are so many Facebook groups out there that it's like moving from, I'm in one right now, is moving to Washington. And I'm in there, and I haven't like done any um, prospecting, but it's amazing to see. The people are literally coming in to Washington from everywhere. So also using some of the Facebook groups to find people that you can take offline and, assist to support them.
Yeah. Perfect. I think that made it through all of our questions. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. I know I think we got a good recording on this too, so that we can send this to people as they're having more questions on these. We do get a lot of questions on referral, at least 1 to 2 a day. So let us know if there's something coming up that you need some help with, or if you're like, oh, I have someone I'm thinking of right now that I need to send to this particular city. So hopefully this is helpful for you and on how you're going to navigate that type of conversation. Clients, they love if you're willing to help them in that regard. I can tell you that my friends and my family have certainly appreciated it. So if they are, I'm sure that your clients will as well. So, take a look at the trainings this week. I know it's a busy week, with all of those going on, but we would love to see you here in our office on Wednesday. We have Wednesday, Friday, and then also the Saturday that we have trainings going on this week. So hopefully that's helpful for you as well. If not, we will see you guys this coming Monday. So thanks so much, you guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a great week.